Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Well That's Horrific podcast. I'm Tom Cruise,
And I am Mr. S.
and we have another interesting episode for you guys today. Scream. We've been talking about this for so long.
Yes. Everything screamed this episode.
Yeah. We have a lot to unpack between the new movie coming out in just a couple months. At this point, 2 months now? Really, really close. We've only gotten one teaser.
Yep.
And then we want to talk about some of the movies that we've already seen, of course. Scream 1 through 5, maybe rank the killers, some other things that we find interesting, and some theories that we have for the upcoming Scream.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I guess I wanted to throw the ball in your court. With Scream 6 coming out, I know we've been exhausted with so many different theories of not only who the killer is going to be, who they're going to bring back, how even the movie potentially is going to end, and where this is all leading to. And as excited as I am, I think it is better we dive first into the past, right? We go back to the original. We got Scream 1 here. Classic on DVD, and I actually did get the 4K version for those of you wondering.
Let's go.
This is one of my favorite movies of all time. I think I mentioned this multiple times. I absolutely love Scream, the original Scream. From the Drew Barrymore intro, I did rank that as number one on my list of best kills. To Matthew Lillard, of course. Stu, everybody loves Stu. Billy is amazing, and just some of the twists and turns, the fake outs, the corn syrup. How do you feel about the first Scream?
It's goated. It's one of the best slasher horror films, if not the best slasher horror film there is, because of so much knowledge that the movie brings to the viewers. You know, like that. I told you this before. It's one of those films that, introduced other films. And like they introduce rules on how to survive certain killings and attacks, and like they do it by acknowledging other horror films, and I think that's the first of its kind to do so. And it's like you said, Billy and Stu are probably one of the most memorable killers to obviously, impact Woodsboro for the worse. And it's a great first movie to establish a franchise, a formula moving forward, and just the franchise speaks for itself. It speaks volumes to everyone who's a horror fan, everyone who's not a horror fan. I think they know Scream, Wes Craven's film. It's great. It's a great film. I love it. I get never tired of seeing it, and that's why, honestly, because of this film, Scream is my second favorite horror franchise. I feel like Halloween, obviously, is my favorite, but Scream is just. It's almost up there, like almost like a tie. It's great. It's seriously great.
I mean, I have to say, man, like at the time, I don't think anything like you mentioned was like this. This was definitely the first of its kind. Wes Craven was definitely onto something. Kind of, I don't want to say like breaking the fourth wall, but it made it to the point where like the fact that they're talking about other movies in the movie made it that more intriguing, that more interesting, and then it had that sort of satire element where it was like poking fun at the elements while also still being a horror mystery, right? Yeah. This still is a horror movie at its core, although it is referencing other movies and formulas and things that you would think like would take you out of that element, but it actually doesn't. Right. It actually, if anything, it does the opposite.
Exactly.
And then the mystery element, which I think so many movies have taken over from this or have been inspired by this, where you don't know who the killer is, and I'm sure other movies did it before, but not to this degree.
No.
And yeah, they just toy around and play with you. They tease you. There's always a red herring. There's a lot to the first Scream in particular. Right. We mentioned some things before. The fact that Drew Barrymore was the initially cast as Sydney, and then decided last minute alone, I want to be the first kill. Like I want to be the opening sequence. Like
absolutely.
I can't imagine the reaction of like watching this movie in a movie theater and thinking like Drew Barrymore in Scream, and you go watch Scream and she dies in the first 10 minutes.
It's insane. And then because of her, this movie's the reason why it was like able to happen. This movie, because Wes Craven was like not really thinking about it at once because Kevin Wilson wrote it, and then like Wes Craven was told like, yo, Drew Barrymore is interested, and he's like, all right, let's do this. Let's give this another thought. So it's props to her. Like, she takes pride in that too, and like. Even when the Scream 5 film was released, she had a little cameo over there as the principal's voice. Like, she still is, passionate about the success of Scream. So, props to her, and a big thank you as a horror fan to her for making this happen. Because look what's come out of it.
Yeah, no, for sure. And again, props to Kevin Williamson on this, right?
Yeah.
He's been involved in all of them at this point, right? Has there really been any that he's not involved in? He's
the third one I would say he wasn't really involved with. He tried. He had a script. He had a script ready, and then Columbine had happened, which kind of took that script, negated it completely. So, yeah. But he's been there. He's always been there. You can't think of Scream without Kevin Williamson.
No, 100%. And I know one fun fact is I think he wrote the first act of Scream as kind of sort of a play. It was supposed to be like a one-act play. So props to that for sure. Like, that's awesome. Yeah, and just to think of everything that went into that one particular scene or that intro sequence of Scream 1. But then again, I think the cast of Scream 1 also, like, look at the general cast. Like, Courtney Cox, which we had known her from what?
Friends.
Yeah. Who would have thought, right? So what year did Friends start? I'm trying to look this
94.
up right now. 94. So this was 2 years. She already was filming Friends when this came out. And you got to think, nobody thought, Courtney Cox was going to be in a horror movie.
No. And that she's such a great actress because she really does. She is the opposite in Scream of what she is in Friends. Gail's character to Monica's character, and just. You're right. The cast itself, they did such an amazing job. Like, even David Arquette,
Yes, David Arquette's another one.
Like, I didn't expect him to have such a significant role either, being the guy that he is. He's obviously a funny dude. Usually the funny people kind of, like, die pretty quick, And he's lasted a long time. And obviously Billy's character, Skeet Ulrich,
yep.
Matthew Lillard, Neve Campbell, the goddess, They're all great, and they all have this chemistry that worked for them in their favor in a sense of, like, you believe that they were high school kids. Like, you believe that they were, like, actually innocent, and, like, it was tough to, like, figure out who the killer was. And it's a great... Oh, speaking of which I love that they did in Scream 1 is they really paid attention to Ghostface and how, like... It made a lot more sense, which kind of helped you
100%.
Understand who the killer is, like how they got from point A to point B, and like
you can really tell that they thought the process out, and they knew from the beginning who the killer was, so they planted everything very well, so that although it wasn't easy to guess, they still made it so that it made 100% sense that it was him, right? Like it was well thought out. Another element from the first Scream is the voice, right? We got the voice of Ghostface, which is actually not like an emulator or anything. It's an actual guy. For those who don't know, it's a person who does the voice.
What's his name? Roger Jackson, I think his name.
Yes.
Yeah, sick voice, sick voice. I know, it's great. They didn't even, like, when they were filming, they didn't even get to see him.
Exactly.
Like, he was
That's what I was
actually
going to
in, like, another room somewhere, just to kind of give them that, like, that true essence of fear. So that was great. But yeah, no, Scream, absolute success. Then
we cannot say Jamie Kennedy, man. Jamie Kennedy was in this, and I know you love that scene. We got to mention Jamie Kennedy was in this movie, and again, stole the show with some of his, like, horror facts, like that. As a horror fan myself, I loved every time he mentioned anything, and the fact that he was watching Halloween in this. Like, come on, your favorite movie, he's watching it in the movie.
Jamie Kennedy is such a dominant character in this franchise, and, like, it speaks, for itself on how people were so upset when he died in Scream 2, and then, you have his niece and nephew on the Scream 5 and 6 films, and, like, they're all so, attached to them already because of Randy's character. I think that's... He's like, when you think of the rules, he comes to mind, so it's insane. He's one of the best characters. Sad death. It's so funny too, man.
Yeah,
he's so funny, man. In the films.
He's awesome. I think the last thing I wanted to mention, just quickly on Scream 1, since we know obviously Wes Craven is a part of a lot of other movies, and most notably, A Nightmare on Elm Street, right?
Yeah.
There's the obvious cameo in this one. I didn't even have to like look up or anything. I knew about this one. The janitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fred.
Yes. Fred the janitor couldn't be more on the nose, but also he's wearing Freddy's sweater.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now they do a lot of that. They do a lot of cameos throughout the Scream films, which is appreciated. But yeah, no, Wes Craven. Wes Craven is an icon, horror icon. Rest in peace. But yeah, Scream 1, goated.
Yeah. So that's Scream 1 for you guys. I know you were already getting on to Scream 2, so I'll let you get started there.
No, Scream 2 was like a direct sequel. It kind of reminds you of Scream 6 coming out because that was released in 1997. They tried to, bring the characters back, but obviously in a different, location. And they used the same formula they used in Scream 1, and it worked. It worked. It worked really well. They tried to hide the script. The script was leaked, so they had to change it,
yes.
Unfortunately. And then they tried to hide it from everybody, even the cast,
Spoiler
just
alert,
to make sure
the boyfriend was the killer, or one of the killers, I believe.
Yeah, so it was supposed to be the boyfriend, which was Derek. It was supposed to be Hallie, too.
Which was the other, is it
friend
Mick's
of Sydney.
girlfriend?
Yeah. And I think it was supposed to be Mickey also and Mrs. Loomis. So I think it was supposed to be four. And you know me, I don't like that. I've never liked that. I know you like that, but
no. I mean, I like the idea of there being more than two killers because it hasn't been done before. But at this time, again, this is just a sequel. So
yeah,
I don't know if they would have earned that just yet. But I guess what I dislike the most is the boyfriend being the killer. I think I prefer him talking in this.
Yeah, I think you had to change it up, and I really like Mickey as a what you call it, as a killer. I think he does a great job. He's funny. He was like kind of low key a little bit, and
so Mickey, Timothy Oliphant, great actor. If you've seen all his other stuff,
yeah,
he plays a great bad guy in this.
Yeah,
amazing. And then there's that scene. Again, a lot of film stuff in these movies. In film class, where him and the entire class are debating best horror sequels. Again, hitting it on the nose, man. Like, I love these sort of elements. Like, that's like my favorite scene of Scream 2. I know it has nothing.
It's
to
great
do
rating.
With the rest of
It's
the
great
movie,
rating.
But like, I love just seeing them argue about Alien versus Aliens, or Terminator versus Terminator 2, or Godfather versus Godfather Part 2. I love it. I love the references. I love the fact that they're talking about a sequel in a sequel. And again, we can touch up on this later, but they do the same thing in Scream 3. I really like that. I really appreciate that. And then we got Sarah Michelle Gellar in this movie. That is huge. I don't know if you realize how big that was at the time, because she could have easily been a star.
Massive.
She was already a star, but she could have easily been the star of this movie, is what I meant to say.
Yeah, absolutely. She was great. Her death scene was great too.
Yep. And then we got the intro sequence. Can we talk about this intro?
That intro was insane because, you have this fear of being, murdered alone in a house, like Scream 1, demonstrated, right? But then you have Scream 2, where you're murdered in plain sight in front of...
The exact opposite of the first one.
Yeah,
in front of everyone.
In front of a crowd at a movie theater, which, can happen. I mean, the way they did it, like, it can happen. So I think that was absolutely, Jada Pinkett, what she did her job there too. It was iconic kill. Like, they've even made fun of it in like Scary Movie. So people know that kill was like, whoa, like, was insane.
But if I'm really thinking about this, I know we're now ranking the intro kills. This might be the second best intro, if not the best.
It's definitely.
I know some people say this is the best one, but I mean, I think the first one is the best. But I think this is. I don't think I'm thinking of all the other intros. Definitely not Scream 3. I don't think
Scream 3 was Cotton Weary. I'm not gonna lie. Not that the intro was great. It's just that Cotton Weary dying was a big deal.
Yeah, of course. But in terms of the actual scene, though, I don't think there's a better scene.
No, there's not. Like, she's even in the poster right behind you.
Yeah.
Like she
again, but I love this because this is a play on the whole Drew Barrymore thing in the first one, because Drew Barrymore was in the poster, and everybody thought she was in it. So the fact that you're doing the same thing with Jada Pinkett, you're like, okay, Jada Pinkett Smith is in this. Check it out, and then we fucking kill her in the first 15 minutes. I love it.
They weren't afraid. They were ballsy. That's what I love, man. I love it when things are not predictable. Like, you really got to figure out what's going on, what's happening, and you got to really be surprised. to kind of like have you fucked up. You know, like that's the whole point. But no, they did a good job. They did a really good job with that kill. That kill was memorable.
For sure. Again, there's a lot of elements to this movie as well.
Scream 2 was my first what you call it, hard copy on a VHS tape. Like that's the first one that I got.
Wow, way back when.
Way back when. Insane. I might have it somewhere.
There's a lot of things in this sequence, in this movie, between like just playing with Sydney a lot. You know, the fact that it could have been her boyfriend. Again, I do appreciate that it wasn't her boyfriend again, but they do play on the fact that, you know, she was traumatized after the first event, could easily be him again. And then, I mean, if we go to the killers themselves, right? The fact that one of them is directly related to the killer from the first one, right? And it ties in that conversation that they have at the end of Scream 1, where he's like, your mother had an affair with my father, and that's why my mom left.
Right.
And this is like immediately like tying that in, like, okay, and my son died. Boom.
Yeah. So you're right. You know, they play with that. They play with Sydney's obviously, fears and like trust issues, and like they do a good job of, making Derek seem like the killer. And that one scene where he goes back into the house, he's sliced in the hand, and they also do a good job of like the wow factor. Like for me, I don't think I would have guessed that Mrs. Loomis was the killer and that she was there the whole time, like following Gail as with a fake identity.
She was in maybe one or two scenes in this movie before she was revealed.
Yeah, so that was like pretty cool to see. Scream 2 is great. It's definitely great, memorable for sure.
I know also Cotton Weary, right? There was that element where like now he's innocent, so there's still tension between him and Sydney, and that makes everything all strange. And I know there was an early version that
she
also
convicted
had him as a kid.
Accused him of murder of something he didn't do. Obviously that would have some type of resentment towards somebody. So I'm with Cotton on this one. And anything he asks for, especially after you falsely accuse him of murder, you should be like, you know what, Cotton, I owe you one. I put you behind bars wrongfully. So that's that.
No, for sure. I think another thing about this particular movie is just we touched up on it, right? We got Randy, and big element is, of course, Randy dies in this, right?
He dies in this, and again, he dies outside. He dies in a way that you wouldn't think is possible. So when he's on that phone call, you're like wondering, like, can he really die? No, he can't. He's outside. He's trying to figure out who the killer is, all that stuff. And it's mad funny too, like when he's like cursing at the killer too. And we have confirmation that this was Mrs. Loomis, and it's crazy. He died in plain sight, like again in front of, on campus, in front of people, and they didn't know. And like a memorable death because he was such a big character from the first one, a loved character. So again, they weren't afraid to play with it. It worked, and I approve.
Part of me wishes that they did this a lot more moving forward. Like I know that they had their three main cast members, of course, Sydney, Dewey, and Gail. But I wish like elements like this, where like you kill a main character, it makes everything more realistic to me. It makes everything more significant. Yeah. It's more impactful in general. Again, I know people wish Randy would still be alive. Yeah. And people love Jamie Kennedy. But I feel like this had such a big impact on the movie and on every movie moving forward, right? Like, again, we can start talking about Scream 3 now, but like his return on that DVD, on that, was it VHS at the time?
It was a VHS, yeah.
Yeah, on that VHS. Again, one of my favorite scenes, because you got this element of him first in the first movie is explaining rules of a horror movie. Then you get the second movie, rules of a sequel. And then the third movie, he basically comes back from the dead to basically tell you, hey, if you're watching this, it's because I didn't survive the elements of the last attack. Yep. And if you're watching this, that means that there's a new killer, and I have to explain to you the rules of a trilogy.
Exactly.
And I absolutely love that.
We get that, that Randy that we've seen in Scream 1, which is great. We needed to see that in Scream 3 because Scream 3 was I think Scream 3 is probably the least memorable one, and it's unfortunate because I think Roman as the killer and his motive is probably the best one of the whole series. I'm being honest. Like the whole franchise. I think
the motive, yes.
The motive, the motive I think is the best one. I'm being honest with you.
100%,
It's the best motive, and to understand that everything that's been going on is because of him is huge. I think that saved the movie, even though obviously a lot of people still didn't like the movie. And I also think that Roman being the only killer, the only killer in the movie to be like alone, is something big in itself too. So that is what sticks out to me the most. And Scream 3, it has obviously its downs, but it also has some ups. We get a little bit more backstory to Maureen Prescott and who she was before she was Maureen.
And they play with the whole, like, obviously the pictures. There's a cameo here, a Star Wars cameo. We also get, what is it? We also get, well, there's a Carrie Fisher cameo, but a lot of things in Hollywood, the casting choices, and there's two versions of every character.
Right.
But just quickly touching up on what you said, I do think he had the best motive. It was just unfortunate that the movie, wasn't finished, and then it went through so many rewrites. That it got to where it got to, right?
Yeah, they started filming this with a
like
script that wasn't finished. So.
Yeah. But there was a lot of potential here, and I do
absolutely.
I do think him being behind everything and the connection, him being her brother and everything, it all makes sense. It ties in everything very well. It was just unfortunate that the movie was changed so much. It's like they didn't know if this movie would have been written in advance, and they weren't trying to meet a deadline, and everything was good. I think this movie would have been much better. I think, to your point, they even play on it on the movie. Like the script being unfinished.
Yeah, literally. Yeah,
really impacted the movie.
At this point, they were just asking for anything, and like they changed their killers too. Like it was supposed to be that girl who did play Sydney, and I'm glad it wasn't because I really didn't like her character. I think they had a huge save with Roman being the killer. That's just my opinion, because the movie otherwise had these, gadgets that weren't real, these moments that weren't really real, and
I don't even remember who was it that played Sydney in this. To be honest.
It's that skinny woman, man. I don't even know what her name is, the actress.
I'll look it up right here while we continue. But
but that was pretty much that. And then you have Scream 4. Now, Scream 4 for me, I think I was so glad to hear that it came back, the franchise, after 11 years. I'm so glad Wes Craven was on it as well. And it did really well. I think it's probably one of the best movies, and it's, for me, I think it's so unfortunate that people didn't appreciate it as much because it was so ahead of its time. Like if that movie came out like today, it would be like fucking amazing, 100%. But it's still I think it's still a great movie. I don't like the filter that they used. I've mentioned this every time I mention Scream 4. It really pisses me off.
That's my biggest critique. I really like this movie. We did our ranking before. I had this up there. I really like Scream 4.
It's a great movie. Yeah.
I actually really like the intro with like the play on it's a movie within a movie. It's a movie. I appreciate that. There's a lot of callbacks, a lot of references. There's a lot that goes into this movie, while still being a Scream movie and not necessarily like. Obviously, you can't continue the last ones the way they were, right? This is a brand new chapter. Yes, it is a sequel, but in this take or in this movie, we got the rules of a remake, right?
You're right.
Or a reboot, should I say?
Yeah.
I love the kids. We got Hayden Panettiere in this one. We got let me look up his name real quick before I mess it up.
Macaulay Culkin's brother.
Yes, I didn't want to just say that he was known for being his brother.
You can say it, man. It's a podcast. You can say whatever you want. But no, yeah, they had a good cast. They had they had the returning characters: Sydney, Courtney Cox. Nev Campbell, Courtney Cox, David Arquette, Emma Roberts.
Of course. Alison Brie is in this.
So they had a strong cast. It worked. It's like the rules that you mentioned too were great. It's what you would expect during that time. Like it was a time of reboots, so it definitely did help out. And like just the kills, I think to me were a lot gorier than the other movies at the time. So that's something I did appreciate. I feel like that's what Scream was lacking, and they delivered with that. They delivered with kills. They delivered with the mystery element because let's be honest, nobody. I mean, I didn't for one.
Not
guess.
Emma Roberts, but again, going back to what we mentioned.
Yeah.
Rory Culkin is his name. That one was kind of like you could have gotten him as a killer, but no way you got Emma Roberts as a killer.
No way you got Emma Roberts in this. Absolutely no way. And I think that was like a huge moment in the franchise itself, where it's like, you know what? Like we thought we didn't know who the killer could be. Like we really don't know. Like we even like, cause sometimes you try to think of who the killer can be, but like now this person's safe. Like this person's definitely not it.
Yeah.
Like that was like to me like thinking Sydney couldn't have been it, and it was Sydney. So that was a huge.
It was the closest you can get to doing that, obviously,
literally,
without it being Sydney.
Yeah, and like it was great. I thought it was absolutely great. They did a great job. I think one thing that I would probably say that I didn't like, I told you the filter. I also didn't like the Ghostface showing up from place to place. I feel like it didn't make sense. It was the least accurate,
representation of Ghostface.
Yeah. So that was that, but it was great. I thought it was great. I thought the ending was great.
Yeah, I thought
and
the
she
ending
almost got
was
away
great.
with it. She almost got away with it.
She almost got away with it. The motive wasn't great, but wasn't terrible. Like it wasn't a terrible motive. I understood. I guess I understood it at the time. I thought I was like, really, like that's why you're gonna do it. But I was like, all right, it makes more sense.
It makes more sense. That's what I'm saying. It was ahead of its time because now that motive is like 1,000 times better than the Scream 5's motive. I think.
Yeah, Scream 5 probably has the weakest motive.
I think it's such a terrible motive, and that for me now, as we transition to Scream 5, is like kill the movie. I think Scream 5 was a good movie. I think people have to go ahead.
I just wanted to touch on a few things on Scream 4 before we go to Scream 5. I apologize. So
go ahead.
This also, we have to take into account, this was the last movie that Wes Craven directed. He sadly passed away. He wasn't able to do Scream 5. Right. We have the returning of the main cast. Not to say that I don't like the cast in Scream 5. Again, they were barely in it. But I do like that Dewey and Gale are in this together. They're still together in this. 5 was kind of sad in that aspect where, like, they're no longer together. He's, depressed, just watching her, and then he ends up dying. I mean, there's more to that, but it wasn't the greatest Dewey, I would say. And then it was meant to be really the last one, right? We got Scream 5 was meant to really honor Wes Craven. They didn't know if they wanted to do it without him, and that was something that we discussed, especially when Scream 5 was coming out. And one of the big pushes was Neve Campbell coming back and saying, like, if it's for him, we'll do it. We'll do one last one.
Right.
That's pretty all that I wanted to touch up on when it comes to Scream 4 and into the transition of Scream 5. Going into Scream 5, I'm trying to remember what the trailers are like. Do you remember your early impressions of Scream 5 before we talk about the actual movie?
My early impressions were, oh, okay, they're making one. I'm happy. Like, I was happy. Like, think about it. After 11 years, again, they're making another film. Obviously, it was supposed to be released a little bit 2020, I believe, but, like, COVID had hit, and, like, they had to push the project. Scream 5, the trailer was great. It felt different. Even in the trailer, I think...
Yes, I do remember that.
Even Dewey, I think, says something's different about this one. And I think for me, I was a little bit more, fearful of the main cast not being together anymore. And obviously, we've talked about this in our podcast before. We definitely knew Dewey was going to be a victim, but we also were apprehensive, like, about possibly Neve Campbell dying. And, like, we thought if that was going to be the case, it would be in the beginning. That's what you had mentioned, right?
That's what I was hoping. I was like, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to go, balls to the wall and just get it started. But I thought this would be a perfect time to, make her the Drew Barrymore, right? Let's
true.
Let's throw everybody off.
I was heavy invested in this, and obviously we saw the Scream trailer afterwards, so we knew that Neve Campbell couldn't die in the beginning. But I was Scream heavy on this. Like, I was happy that it was back in Woodsboro. I was happy that it was back at Stu's house. I was happy to see how they were going to tie this together. I thought it was going to be something huge, you know, something that took us back to the original Scream film. And to their credit, they really did. Like, so I need people to understand, because a lot of people obviously like this movie because it did so well. It had a budget of $24 million and ended up making over $140 million. Instant success, right? That's great. I love that. I want them to do well. There's some people out there who really don't like it. They say that it's slow, it's boring, or whatever. You got to understand, this movie wasn't going to go all out. I was expecting that this movie was going to honor Wes Craven, which they were very, adamant about, and it was going to, feed off of the original Scream and pay respect to it. And I think they did that very well. I mean, I really mean that. I really think that they did that very well. I was okay with the pacing. I was okay with the ties to the first movie. I think they did it very well, bringing it back to Stu's house. And then they just really messed it up with that motive. I mean, killed it. Like, if anyone's going to be upset, it's because of that. I think that's my honest opinion. Like, obviously, Sydney wasn't there as much as we had hoped. She was there for a little bit, but they used her heavy into advertising with the posters and the trailers and everything.
Which, again, cool. I'm all for, because they've done that before with every other movie. So
yeah, but she was in it a lot more than she was, in Scream 5.
No, of course. But what I mean is, look at Jada Pinkett, right? Look at Drew Barrymore. They were in the posters of 1 and 2.
Right.
And they died in the intro. So, like, can you really be upset at that? I don't know.
Yeah.
I think I agree with you, especially on the motive of Scream 5. If I'm being totally honest, I don't like Melissa Barrera too much as an actress. Okay. I tried to rewatch it. I mean, I did rewatch it, and there's some lines that I do really question. Like, they should have done another take. But besides that, I think I really enjoyed the movie outside of the reveal and kind of the last act to a certain degree. I thought it was very interesting that, of course, Amber goes out and pretends to be her, and only for her to shoot them. But it was just crazy to me that she immediately gets Gail with a shot. Like, I don't know. That was just.
She had to hit somebody. I know. There's 2 people there. She can't miss all of them.
I know, but it's also like you would think. Gail and Sydney are supposed to be the experts here, and Dewey just got killed. I don't know.
No, well, that's another thing that I thought they did well too. Is they portray Sydney and Gail as experts. I think, like in the beginning, like when Amber does come out, she's like, what do you think? Bullshit, and then they start shooting at her, and then like when Sydney's on the phone, when she gets into the house, she goes, I don't have time for this. Like, bye. Like, she hangs up the phone. I think they did a great job of that.
I do like that. I just thought that, I don't know. I didn't buy Gail getting shot that easily.
Okay.
That's all. I guess
I feel that. I'm okay with that. I didn't like the fact that the opening scene was such a, like, it was great. I think it did well, but for her to not die and survive somehow, like, I didn't understand that. I get it. Like, obviously, she's a critical piece, like, to Sam as her sister.
I think she only survived because they wanted her to survive. And I
get that.
Like that.
I'm just talking about the Scream formula itself. Like, like you kill everybody every movie. But which I'm not.
But again,
like,
this
I'm
is
not,
different. They want to do something different,
obviously. But I'm not trying to, like, bash on it just because of that.
Listen,
Dewey dying, and I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound sexist or anything like that, but Dewey, who survived 4 movies,
getting killed by Amber is crazy.
Yeah, Dewey, who's like a freaking sheriff, he's killed Ghostfaces, he's killed Roman.
We could dive into theories, and we spoke about this, but there's no fucking way Amber killed him like that. But again, if it actually is Amber, that's fucking crazy,
fucking insane, bro. Like that really pissed me off.
She literally
man.
gutted him.
Yeah, bro, and that really pissed me off. But she says it too, like I guess she confirms it. I mean, obviously, Scream, is smart with getting away.
Yeah, she could be hiding it.
But
I don't know, man.
That was Scream 5. Honestly, I like Billy being there, even though it was a hallucination. I absolutely loved Skeet being there, and
I have mixed feelings. I don't know. Just he looks old. That's all.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, but whatever. And so we're here now. We're here with Scream 6. We're hyped about Scream 6 taking place in New York City. That's where we're from.
So again, it's changing. Things are drastically changing.
Right.
I know you didn't like Jenna Ortega's character surviving in the first movie. I thought it was different. I think I would have liked it if she died anyways. But the fact that she survived that thought was different, and at the time I really appreciated that because it was something that I didn't see coming. Right. This one now in New York, like completely different setting. It has to be more public because of that, because New York is just heavily crowded. We already have a tease of a scene in the train, right?
Yeah,
and it's taking place, or at least part of the movie we know for a fact it's taking place during Halloween, which adds another layer.
Right. So I'm excited, man. Like I am very excited. The teaser was great. I love the teaser. They gave us no trailer as of yet, but they gave us a hint that's going to come out this month, and I'm hoping that it's just one trailer. They released stills, which is what I want to talk to you about, because now, like, before we go into ranking all of the killers, because obviously we're trying to talk about all the films here, just kind of get a little bit of a refresher for everybody. I want to talk about theories.
100%. Let's do it.
And a theory that I have mentioned before, I think 2 weeks ago in our episodes, 2 episodes back, is that Stu Macher is somebody that people really think is going to be the killer in this film. I've said it 2 weeks ago. Let that die. I've said that. I said let that die. Obviously, I love Stu. I think he's one of the greatest. I love his character. I really do.
Yeah, my favorite part of the original Scream is pretty much Stu and the ending.
Oh my God.
I can quote him for days.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a little woozy.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he's just one of the...
Hit me with the fucking phone. What is he? Hit me with the phone?
Phone, dick. Like, he's one of the greatest, right? But
my parents are gonna be so mad at me.
Literally, like, he's just such a psycho,
I love it. He just plays such a good bad guy.
And like, again, like, I love him, and I would love, like, I'm not gonna say if it does happen, I'm not gonna say, oh shit, like, I would be happy. Of course, I would be happy, but three things actually, real quick. If they did bring him back, they should have done it last movie. I think it was the perfect movie for him to come back in, and I think that would have the projections of that movie. I think the reviews and everything. Yeah. That would have been it. Like, that would have been 100%. Honestly, I think that would probably been like the best movie. I'm being honest.
There's so many things I want to say here. I'm going to start writing these down.
Yeah, like,
wait, let me cut you off. Let me cut you off for a second. Let me cut you off before I forget. So, yes, I do agree with you. Please don't forget the other things that you were going to mention. But the thing about that is, one, it's pretty much fan fiction, right? It's something that the fans have wanted for some time now. And had they done that, the movie right after Wes Craven, in other words, the one movie without Wes Craven, it would have felt like, like 1 through 4 were canon and 5 wasn't. If that makes sense. Like,
I get that, I do, but you gotta understand, like,
I know.
11 years later, and like, why can't we feel like it's canon with the fact that they're coming back to the Woodsboro and the original house?
Yeah.
Like,
I get it, but it's
if
also,
you're gonna do it, commit fully.
Where was he this entire time? Right? They didn't mention that he survived this entire time.
So that's the thing.
Another retcon, and I don't know. Again, as much as I love Matthew Lillard and as much as I love Stu, I just don't know if it really makes sense to do this. I don't think they should do it just because the fans want it, right? It's just fan service.
Stop right there. I'm gonna stop you right there. I'm gonna hold up, gonna mark a clip here. Okay, I'm gonna stop you right there. Here's why that's Stu theory to me. Like I said, I would love it for it to happen, but it just doesn't make sense to me, because obviously Kevin Williams, they never really confirmed Stu's death throughout the whole franchise, but they had recently
got a CRT TV thrown in his head. But okay.
Yeah. And they recently just asked Kevin Williamson about it. He was like, he kind of said, like, yo, he got a TV, like, on him. Like, he's dead. Obviously, it doesn't mean anything coming from him, because they've lied about this before, which is fine. But if Stu is alive, why is he not going after Sidney? Why would he be going after Sam?
That's true. That's 100% true. That's another good point. Why would you do it in the one movie that Sidney's not in?
Exactly. So that makes unless they kill Sidney off, like, in the beginning, and it is like Stu or something, like, like, it has, like, if they are going to commit, they have to do it right, because if you're just a fan and want to see Stu and the motive sucks, like Scream 5's motive sucked, then honestly it's like the movie will suck. And then on top of that, if they don't bring Stu and you're going to be upset because they didn't bring Stu and bash the movie for it, that's terrible too, because that means that you're not really a fan either. So that's my whole take on the Stu thing. Would I have loved to seen him? Absolutely. I think I would be smiling like crazy. Like, I'm smiling now thinking about it, but Is it possible?
I think what people have to understand is we both would love for him to be the killer.
Yeah,
we would absolutely enjoy that.
They had that plan for Scream 3, but
and we would have enjoyed that 2 movies ago. Honestly, I just don't think it works at this point, and it would be just heavily fan service.
Yeah,
which a lot of studios tend to do. Marvel loves to do it. Just to give you an example, John Krasinski was not supposed to be Mr. Fantastic. That was pretty much fan service. So so many people wanted him as Mr. Fantastic. They said, "Hey, we're gonna make him Mr. Fantastic in Doctor Strange just for the hell of it." But that was pretty much just fan service.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that they wouldn't do it because of that same reason, right? Knowing for a fact that people would like it, why not do it? But I just don't think it works. And
right.
especially this far along, 5 movies in. One movie that Sydney's not even a part of.
Yeah. So
this was a theory that came up after Scream 3, to be honest. So like this theory has been on the internet since before Scream 4 was released.
Yeah. Here's my thing. Because can we talk theories now? Because I would like to talk theories now, just for Scream 6, and hopefully if they come true, we'll come back to this and talk about it. I'm not gonna lie. I am not going to lie. There's a reason why I do think it's a possibility. And I've said this to you before. It's because of that mask that they're using.
Yes. So they are teasing something with that mask. It's a worn, scarred mask.
So what is that
it's
about?
Either the original mask or somebody who's scarred, which would make sense because Stu had a TV thrown at his head.
Yeah.
He was scarred, right?
Yeah. And what does that mask indicate? Something vintage, right? Something, old.
Again, or it's either the old original mask. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's almost that same thing that they did with Halloween. Right.
So we have Stu theory possibly being true, confirmed with that old mask, right? That was that still that they had released. Here's something else that I want to show you or share with you. Give me 1 second here.
See if this is breaking news. If I haven't seen this,
you've seen this. Let me know if you're watching this, if you're seeing this poster. So
yes, I am.
So obviously this is a poster of New York City. New York City subway line. If you're from the area, you understand the theme of it.
A couple things frustrated me about this poster. One, half the numbers are the wrong color. They should half be red, half be green. If we're being accurate here.
Okay.
I'm just nitpicking.
Right. So they obviously outlined the Ghostface here, his mask, and obviously the people here, from what I'm reading, are the ones that are deceased.
Correct. In the order in which they were deceased.
In order in which they were deceased. Cool. And each line is a different movie. Obviously, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here's my thing. And I hate to be this guy, and I don't want to look into this at all like that. But if you look closely at Stu's, what you call it, circle here.
Yeah. It's not fully circled
It's not fully white. There's a shade of pink or red or whatever you want to call it there, and that has gotten the internet riled up. Everybody is talking about that. So I don't know how to feel about that. I don't know what to really say.
I think if anything, this just proves our theory that he's not the killer. Because it would be crazy if they revealed that he was the killer in a fucking poster. You know how upset I would be?
Okay, wait. So you would be upset, but there's I'm not saying I believe it. You know me. I'm not saying they should do it, but there's a reason they put stuff out. Like, they are good at it's teasing things.
Yeah, it's marketing. But you can market something and still not necessarily have it be that, right?
Right.
They could do the whole kid thing. It could be a kid that he had somehow or something.
Yeah, which I'm okay with if they do that.
They did establish that he had a living family member, which they did kill in the last one.
Yes.
Which, again, would throw the theory off that I guess he was involved in the last movie, but it could possibly be that maybe he didn't like that relative. There's also, in that poster, if you look at Hayden Panettiere's character, I forgot the name, Charlie. Right?
Yes.
Kirby. You could also see that it's like closed. Right?
Yes,
like
there's an X on there, so the circle is filled with an X, and it says closed. So that I think they're trying to say, like, we confirm that she's actually alive, which is cool, awesome. Here's a theory that someone had commented on our YouTube video of our reaction of the teaser trailer, and they said, and I'm going to read it to you. All right. This comes from Adam's house. This says the biggest twist they can do if they don't bring back Stu or Jill as the mastermind is Kirby. My prediction: Mindy dies in this because she's had more development than Chad, and it'd pull out our heartstrings more. Not to mention that the crew kind of needs a Dewey-esque character, and Chad fills that role. Chad's supposed to be the heart and soul of this movie. So, okay.
That makes sense.
That makes sense. Yeah, I'll say that. Like, if it's not Stu or Jill, which I think Jill is definitely out, though. I feel like she got, like, electrocuted to the head. I think you can't escape from that. She's gone dead. But I do think that Kirby, can be a possibility. Why not? You can't rule out anybody, right?
So Kirby's another one that I think was fan service, because where does she fit in this movie? She doesn't, outside of her being a survivor. They're just gonna have to connect her with the fact of her being a survivor.
They're probably gonna talk to her for advice, the way they talk to Dewey.
It would have made sense if it would have been Kirby if she was trying to kill Sydney for what she went through in Scream 4.
True.
But Sydney's not in this. Again, I think. Do you remember who was the actor that we originally saw and we said he's the killer? Remember we saw a cast.
Yeah, but that's the guy in the teaser, though. The guy that's holding onto the train.
Oh yes, because so he's in She-Hulk. He was in Arrow. He's played villains before. He's played a good guy, and he was good in She-Hulk. I want to change my theory. I want to change who I think the killer is. Just looking at the cast, I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just going based off cast members, previous movies. There's a lot of people in this movie. I think they did do a good job with the cast. So that particular actor, his name is Josh Shigara. We know him. We know Tony Revolori. He's in Spider-Man. There's a lot more actors in this for sure. If you start looking at the list, you'll recognize these actors from other movies, other TV shows. They're pretty popular, and they're doing that sort of thing where they're gathering a big cast. Now, the big one for me, I'm a big fan of this particular actress, Samara Weaving. Are you familiar with Samara Weaving?
Samara Weaving?
Weaving, yes.
No.
Yes.
Oh, the one from Ready or Not.
Yes.
Yeah,
Ready or Not. She's a bit of a Scream queen. She likes to be covered in blood.
She was supposed to be in Scream 5, but because of scheduling, conflicts, she wasn't able to actually be in the film.
I'm going to go ahead and flag her as a killer right now.
Ooh, okay.
As one of the killers. One of the killers. I do think there will be more than 2 killers in this movie for the first time.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. I want hold on to that. I want to mention that, but go ahead.
I do think there's going to be more than 2 killers for the first time. I'm hoping. I'm not entirely sure about this particular theory, but this is something that we both stand on. I do think, or I'm hoping, I guess, that there is a direct tie to the previous Scream movie here, right? So it directly ties to the last.
There has to be.
And maybe they mentioned that they met in a forum or something. Maybe there were other people involved, other hardcore fans, other people who wanted to, bring back the original, and they continue that from there. I guess that's not. I hope there's more than a motive, more to that motive. But I'm hoping that's the case. So I'm hoping whoever killed Dewey is not Amber. I'm hoping that theory that you mentioned, basically, hey. There's no way Amber did that, and she could have easily been covering for somebody else. Again, this is more of a hope than a theory. But I do think Samara Weaving is going to be a killer. I do think there's going to be more than 2 killers. And then something that I don't want to say this is my theory because I did see this online, but I think this makes sense to me. And I think I pitched this to you before, something similar. I pitched to you that you end this movie with a way to bring Sydney back. And I think you take advantage of the fact that she's not in this movie, and you say, we're going to do it. I think I don't know if killing Gail would do it, which in theory it should, but then if you kill Gail, you kill her at the very end, so Sydney doesn't immediately come back. But I think my last theory on this particular movie is it will have a cliffhanger. I think... without a doubt, they already know that they're working. That there's going to be one more after this.
So that's my thing. Yeah. So I think that there is going to be a cliffhanger. I definitely see that. So if you're looking at who is a new character, you have the guy from Friends. I forgot what his name is. The guy that
From Friends?
the guy who I think is supposed to be a detective or something. The older guy, the older gentleman that was confirmed. I forgot what his name was.
Dermot Mulroney.
There you go.
Williams.
That he played in Mama. I'm sorry, Uma. He played in Uma.
Yes.
So him, the one you just mentioned, Samantha, right?
Samara Weaving.
Samara Weaving, and then that guy that you said is from
Josh Agara. David.
Yeah, so we got 3 new people that are confirmed. One of them, and Kirby, like one of them can potentially be the killer. I don't see any of them being it. To be quite honest, I don't see him. I don't, because they gotta die. You gotta have deaths too. You can't just have new characters just to be what you call it, the killer. I think, and I hate to say this, because you like this type of shit, where it's like more than like 2-3 killers. I think that we have 3 killers. I think 2 killers for sure. I wish it was just 1, to be quite honest with you. But I think you have 2 killers for sure, but a likely chance that there's a 3rd one. And I say this because you have the mask, the old mask. You have the, the mask on the train.
So we have a clean mask and we have a worn mask. Those we've seen 2 masks for sure.
But then you also have the new mask like a new shot, a new still that they just released, and it could be the angle, so it can be a little bit different. But that looks different from the one on the train.
Can you show me the still?
Yeah, I'll give you right now. I'll show you the still.
I'll test another theory. I know the YouTube comment said that Mindy is gonna die. So this looks. It does look like a different mask. But is this from the movie itself?
This is from the movie itself. This is
from the movie
still.
itself.
So
yeah, it does look like a different one.
So it does look like a different one. So here's my thing: if there are 3 killers, I think one of them will not even be in the movie until the very end.
That makes sense. You could only tease and reveal so much.
Yeah,
but it could also. I mean, what are the chances of it being a returning character that we've already seen in the previous?
I don't know. I'm excited. I don't want it to be a spoiler. There's somebody else who's mentioned something else in our comment that said, I personally think. I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Daniel Cruz wrote, I personally think Jenna Ortega nailed the role as Tara and killed the opening scene. It reminded me of the opening scene in the original Scream. It's Melissa Barrera who I think needs the most character development, as she is supposed to be the new Sydney and was bland in the last movie. Okay, fair comment. Fair comment. I do think that the opening intro to Scream 5 was good. I do also think they should have just killed her, because they kind of also teased a lot of it in the trailer, which is great because they released it in the trailer. Like, it's like the first scene and you get it over with. You probably don't have much more to look, so that's fine. Yeah, I mean, I personally didn't mind Melissa Sam. Like, I really didn't mind Sam. I think towards the end she got a lot better. Not wowed for sure. She's no Neve Campbell, but maybe she has some confidence moving forward. So we'll see how that kind of plays out, but we'll see. I mean, from the teaser, at least from what I'm seeing, she looks like she's more into it.
Here's another theory that I wanted to just quickly test. I know somebody mentioned in the comments that Mindy will die, and I mean, it looks like that's the direction that we're going, especially from the teaser. I'm gonna say that's a red herring. You're gonna
say what? You're gonna say Mindy dying is a red herring?
Yeah, I don't think she's gonna die.
Okay.
You know what? I'll give you what. I will flip the theory and say Chad is going to die.
So one of them, without question, is dying. 100%. One of them, because they are related to Randy, and Randy died in the second film as well. So whoever dies in this film is going to. I mean, somebody's gonna die from this film, and it's gonna be heartbreaking. So
I hate when movies change the title and stuff like that. But I think it was a huge mistake not to call Scream 5, and just do the same thing that they did with the 6 here.
AKA, it's Scream 5, though. It's called Scream.
They could have just filled in the M with a V, and it would have been Scream 5. I don't know. It reminds me of Final Destination, Fast and the Furious. They've done this a lot where they try to put the name back to the original movie.
Man.
I don't know. I think for sure. I think Samara Weaving has been in too many horror movies, killing a whole bunch of people, whether it's her as the protagonist in Ready or Not.
She'd be sick, though. She would be sick. I've seen her in Ready or Not, especially. She was insane. She was gangster. She was really good.
She's in another movie with the guy from The Walking Dead, where there's like a virus, and she's in Mayhem. If you've ever seen that movie, she's in The Babysitter. I don't know. If I had to, like, if you told me, gun to my head, make a bet who's the killer right now, I'm gonna say Samara Weaving. Like,
okay, that's your vote. Lock it in. You know,
I feel like the odds are in, like, I would give plus money that it's Samara Weaving.
Okay, cool.
She's one of them.
That's really all that we have for Scream 6 theories and insights right now. As updates are released, we will, update you guys who are listening here. I want to, because we're getting hitting the hour mark soon, want to start just ranking the killers right now. Just I want to rank them. I want to see who's on your top 9 list, because there's only 9 killers. And I'm going to tell you who's in my list and why. And just want everybody to know that I'm rating these kills based on motive, kills, wow factor, like surprised if it was them or not. You know what I'm saying? Like, so that's
all right. If we're ranking them, what are there? 9 killers total, correct?
Yes. So you got Billy.
I know them all. I just want to make sure that I have my right list here. I'm gonna go.
Got my iPad over here. Should you start? Should I start?
I can start.
Okay.
I'm gonna go Amber.
I have Amber number 9 too, my friend.
Yes, number 9.
Amber number 9 too. Go ahead. I'll give you a reasoning.
Just the motive, her being a killer, it doesn't seem very viable to me. Again, not to be sexist or anything, but her size and everything, it was just, I don't know if I could be sold that she was the killer the entire time.
Yeah.
And especially with the whole her killing Dewey. I don't know if I could have been sold. Like, maybe it works in the fact that you would have never have thought that she was the killer, but I don't know, man. I don't see it.
I have her as number 9. I agree with you. Like, I don't get a killer vibe from her. I will give her credit when she was revealed as the killer. She did a great job. She was into it. She was cursing, and she was like, but she was also funny. Like I think they were trying to make her look like Stu a little bit, in the house and whatnot. Like the second killer who just like meaningless for some reason, but her killing Dewey, I just don't believe it. Like I don't believe that she's the Ghostface that killed Dewey, and when I found out she was the killer, I really wasn't like, oh wow, it's her. I didn't care for her being the killer, and her shooting, like her reveal was pretty dope. I'm not gonna lie, but I don't really think she's the mastermind behind everything. And
I agree, 100%.
I didn't like her being the killer.
Who do you have as the number 8?
Charlie, Rory McCulkin, right? That's who I have at number 8. I don't think that he was really special. I'm just being completely honest. Scream 4 was a good movie, but his whole
wasn't much. Yeah,
I did like his character. I did think that he had gory kills. Scream 4 had a lot of gory kills. I do think that he was smart. Like, I was getting Randy vibes from him, and he even mentions it at the end. Sidney and Randy. But I find it hard to believe that he was trying to be Randy the whole time. Like, that's what you're killing people for.
I think I agree with you. So I do have him as number 8 on my list, but for a completely different reason.
Okay.
I just think he wasn't as strong of a killer as the primary killer of the movie. I think he made sense to be the killer with Jill, but him alone made no sense. Like it was clear. It was clear that Jill was the mastermind.
Yeah, absolutely.
He didn't really have a motive, which although he's saying yes, Sydney and Randy, it really feels more like Billy and Stu, because he there's nothing to him. He's just a follower.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's why I have him as number 8.
Yeah. Agreed. Yep. What you got for 7?
So I was a bit mixed on this one, just because I do love his motive. I have Roman Bridger.
You have Roman as number 7?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, explain your reasoning.
It's just, I think I blame more on the movie than anything else. I think his motive and everything makes sense, but the gadgets and I wasn't a big fan of the actor, to be honest, Scott Foley and his performance on this. Nah, I didn't. I didn't like the whole. I don't know. There was a lot of things that I didn't like about the finale of 3. That, I mean, although he worked alone, it's just
okay.
He whines too much throughout that movie.
Okay,
it's just,
well, they all whine. Like even Jill whines. She's like, the fame, and I want it.
He whines.
Friends.
He's so cocky. He almost got away with it. He would have gotten away if he wasn't a fucking idiot. I think because of that, and again, I think I blame more on the movie than I do anything else. But because of that, I have him.
Okay. Listen, you gave your reasoning. You tried to justify it, even though I don't agree with it. It's totally fine. I love it. I think
he has the best motive, though.
I have Debbie Loomis as number 7. I do think she had a good motive. Obviously, she's trying to avenge her son who was murdered. But I still, at the same time, I don't understand it, because you abandoned him. Like, why are you trying to avenge him now? Like, if you wanted to be there for him, you could have been. I understand that Sydney's mom caused separation for you and your husband. I do think her reveal was a wow. I didn't expect it to be her. I'll be honest with you. But because she was in like 2-3 scenes when she was revealed, it's like, okay.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think she did deliver. I think she obviously looked like a concerned mother, and her motive was simple. I think she was trying to be smart too. She goes, let them try to, track down the last possible substance. She goes, Debbie Saul doesn't exist.
I think she had it planned out the best.
Yeah.
She had somebody to pin it on. She had a fake name. But ultimately, I do have her next on my list because of the same reasons. I think my biggest gripe with her being the killer is that, unlike every other killer, it was hard to guess her. Not because you couldn't have guessed her. It's just because she was barely in the movie.
Right.
You could have easily glanced away and not noticed her, which I guess makes sense. But every other Ghostface was in the movie enough that you were like, it could be anybody.
Right.
Her was like, she was barely in the movie and then she's the killer. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And because of that, I have her next on my list.
Okay. All right. So you have her next on the list. So you said that you have her number 6. Number 6 for me is Richie. Scream 5 Richie. So for me, I thought his character was funny throughout the whole film, and I thought for a while he was the wise one, because he always I don't want to go back into the house, let's fucking leave, he was saying the smart things, and they really made it feel like he didn't know anything about Stab, about the franchise, and how he could be a killer. So I think that was so the wow factor was kind of there, even though my wife, just from the poster, she's like, that's the killer, and she nailed it in one, but his portrayal as the killer, when it's finally revealed, is not it. His voice is not it, and the motive is just shit. So it's I don't know.
I do think he had the weakest motive, and I do think it was easy to think it was him because he wasn't really in much. He's in The Boys, but I do love him. I just love him as an actor. He does such a great job in The Boys, if you've seen that. But I do like the way it was revealed that he was the killer. I do like
right.
And I think his death is hilarious. I think it fits him being the killer. I think he was a good killer with a very weak motive.
Right. No. I mean, like I said, his character throughout the film was okay. I wasn't upset with it at all. I think when he finally was revealed as the killer, it was a little bit of a surprise. They did it really well. I think he was he obviously was the mastermind behind everything, but again, his motive, it was just so hard for me to be supporting. Cause obviously I'm not supporting killing. I'm just saying there's some motives that are better than others. You know what I'm saying? And this just wasn't it. The movies and even as he's dying, he's like, wait, you didn't get to make my final, whatever. No, it just didn't work for me. So that's why you're at number 6, Richie. Number 5, I have Mickey.
Yeah,
I like Mickey. I like him a lot.
I do really like Mickey. I like him because he's so sinister.
Yes,
and because Timothy Olyphant does such a good way of
does such a good job. He's so knowledgeable. When he is the killer, he's so psycho. I love it.
He's the craziest killer out of every killer. Let's just say that. There's even Billy wasn't as crazy as fucking Mickey. If Mickey would have survived, he would have fucking been.
They're different. They're different psycho. Because even in the scene when she goes, no, he goes, Billy's a sick fuck who try to get away with it. He goes, Mickey is a sick fuck who wants to get caught. Yeah, he's because I want to get caught. He's gonna blame the movies and he's so open about it, and like he's so good at it too. Like even like where he was trying to make Sydney think like if Derek was like he was like don't worry, Derek, you know, it's okay, we got her. You know, like I think he was so great of a Ghostface. Like that's a portrayal of a Ghostface right there. I think that him being in a couple of scenes in the beginning, like, and his knowledge of horror movies helps his cause. There were a lot of deleted scenes in Scream 2 that, you know, where it had to be deleted because it was so easy to guess it was him. The only thing, because like he was left-handed or whatnot, but the only thing that did pinpoint that he was the killer is the fact he had the camera. Like he was the only one that had the camera while filming. So I think he's great. His motive isn't all that bad. Like he wants to blame the movies and get caught and be famous too. But like, it's just he's a psycho, and I love it. I love the way he portrays the killer.
I feel like he could have easily been my number one, to be honest. I really like. Again, I'm trying not to let the movies influence me, but in a different world, I could have easily said Mickey's my number one killer just because he's so sinister. Yeah. What number are we on now?
Now 5. You have him as 5 too?
I do have him as 5.
Yeah. So now we're on 4. What do you got for 4?
It's kind of a toss-up.
Yeah.
It is kind of a toss-up. So who do we have left here?
So I have Billy, Roman, Jill, and Stu left. You have Billy, Jill, Stu, and I think Richie. Did you say Richie?
I thought I did say Richie. Richie is my number 5.
Oh no, I thought Richie was 6. No, Richie's my 6. Mickey's my 5. Okay, so
I have it flipped.
Oh, okay, you have it flipped. Okay, so number 4. Then I don't know who you have left there.
Number 4, I have Jill Roberts.
Okay.
I thought she did a great job. Emma Roberts is very easy to cast as a bad guy, though, if you've seen her in any other stuff. Like, she did a good job being the killer in this, but the fact that, I don't know, she's such a good actress playing a bad guy.
Yeah.
And, I don't know, she just went that far as to want to kill her cousin and everything.
Yeah.
She clearly had fun doing this, for sure. Even to the point where, like, she's beating herself up. I don't know. I just feel like the motive wasn't as strong as some of the other ones, and I don't know. It's very difficult for me to say whether I want to put her or Stu here, only because I get that people love Matthew Lillard, but he was really just Billy's support character. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
He was just his follower.
Yeah. That's why I have Stu as number 4, and this is not to shit on Stu at all. I love Stu. I absolutely love Stu, and I'm gonna explain a little bit more later why I also have him at number 4. But you know, Stu is a maniac. Like he's a different type of psycho compared to like Mickey. Like he had no real strong motive, but his motive was like for pure joy. Like he just, you know, he said peer pressure, but it's not peer pressure. He loved it. He loved being under like Billy. He loved the fun. Like obviously he was aware of the rules as well, and he was a really likable character. Like in his wow factor too. Like obviously he had more kills than Billy, and you know. He had more kills than Billy. He had more kills than Charlie had more kills. He had more kills than Debbie. He had more kills than Richie. Richie only had 2 kills. So he has a couple of kills. His wow factor was insane. What happened?
He did have more kills than Charlie.
I think he did, right? If I'm not mistaken.
He had 4 kills. Charlie had 3.
There you go. So I know that, you know, he has a lot of kills, and like when he was revealed to Sydney too, it's like, whoa, like you're the killer too, like especially when Sydney needed him at that time. So I think Stu was just.
I just think Matthew Lillard's performance is what really like.
Of course, it's absolutely
the reason
iconic.
why I put him above Jill. I do think Jill is a great killer. I just think Matthew Lillard's performance is just fucking good. And I don't know. I think I'm a sucker for the original movie. Again, I really have a tough time here with some of the top killers on this because, like I mentioned, Mickey could have easily been my number 1.
Yeah. Like these obviously can change sometimes, but this is just me like trying to like who I like the most, and yeah. So that's what I have, and then number 3. Okay, so
I have Stu. You have
for 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so For me, it's a tie. Like it's so hard to like. This could easily be flipped. But number three, I have Roman. Okay, I'm gonna say Roman because I think he has the best motive out of everybody. Everybody. I mean, every killer.
I do think he has the best motive. 100%.
He has the best motive. I think him as a killer is insane. I think because you call him whiny, I call him great. I love the way he acts. Scott Foley is absolutely amazing when he's Ghostface as Roman. I think the wow factor is the best one here, even though it was a little bit of a buyout because they did say he was dead when Gale checked his pulse.
Yeah, he was the only one that was dead and then he ended up being the killer.
Yeah, so I think that is obviously the best. I mean, he doesn't have he has the second best wow factor, and like in terms of killer reveal. He's worked alone. Like he's a director, so like he was like directing the movie, like as well as directing the killings in real life. Like he was so good, and like even when like
that does
his reveal,
make sense. The whole like directing thing, yeah.
Yeah, man. I think the only reason why I don't have him number two is because of the movie that he was in. Like that's probably the only deciding factor.
But you see, that's what bothers me the most, man. Is that movie was, it could have been so much better.
It could have.
And the fact that he wasn't even originally the killer is like crazy to me.
Yeah,
like they pulled that out of their ass, and it still worked.
It worked. It absolutely worked. Yeah. So we got number two, right?
Let's do a quick recap here because I kind of lost track of my order here. Who do you have? Can you do your countdown from?
So I have number 9, Amber. 8, Charlie. 7, Mrs. Loomis. 6, Richie. 5, Mickey. 4, Stu. 3, Roman.
Okay. Who do I have here? I'm gonna let you finish off. You finish.
Okay.
You finish. I come back.
Second, I have Jill, and Jill could have easily been a number 3. Easily been a number 3, like, but because she had a better movie, that's why I put her number 2. I think she has a great movie motive, ahead of its time. I think her being the killer that's the killer reveal that surprised me the most. She is absolutely great at portraying the killer. I think she's absolutely nuts, like killing Trevor and then betraying Charlie, and then afterwards like trying to kill Sydney and then beating up on herself and and killing her own mother. Like she killed her own mother. Like she's absolutely nuts and will do anything to justify her motive.
Her own mother. That was the scene through the mailbox, right?
Exactly. So like she's really up there. I think Emma Roberts did a great job, and she just. She was a good killer. Like it or not, she was a good killer, and I give her number 2 on my spot up here. And then obviously that leads to Billy being number 1. You know, Billy is the OG. He is a different type of psycho. He is just so. He's the reason behind everything. You know, I mean, Roman is the reason behind everything, but he started everything. You know, he killed Sydney's mom and then ends up dating that girl like Sydney for like a year to just like get back to her, and like he's so knowledgeable, and I think he's the one that knows the most horror. I'm just being honest. I think he's sick at it. He had that attractive persona, and and then at the end he just kind of goes crazy. Him as the killer, yelling at Sydney, yelling at Stu, doing anything it takes. Like he's such a nice guy. You think he's not the killer, but he is. He didn't have many kills. But because of him killing Sydney's mom and being the first Ghostface, he kind of started the franchise.
Yeah, I think you have to put Billy number 1 because of the way everything started. Because of the fact that the fake out. They make you think it's him, then it's not him, then it's him again. Yep. I want to quickly just recap my list because I'm really thinking about this, and I already had my list written down, but I had to rewrite it again just because, like, I was really
man. The more you talk about it, the more you think, oh damn, or this or that, you gotta add this.
So let me go to the bottom, right? We got number 9, Amber. Number 8, Charlie. I put Roman number 7 just because I don't like that movie really much. Debbie number 6, Richie number 5, Jill number 4, Stu number 3. I changed some of the order there, if you haven't noticed. I'm going to put Mickey number 2, just because I really, really like Mickey. Like, the more I think about it, Mickey's such a good psychopath.
Yeah, he's amazing.
Which brings us to fucking Billy as number 1.
Yeah.
That's my final list. Sorry, I had to really think that through.
No. Listen, this is something you got to think about.
And the more I thought about it, again, I also think that it's hard to make this list because there are a lot of good killers, especially as you get towards the top. But I do think just Mickey being the perfect psychopath, his motive, pretty much everything that he does throughout the movie. Again, I did know that fact that they try to remove things from the movie so you couldn't really easily guess him, but I don't even mind that. I just love Timothy Olyphant as the killer, as his role here. How good he plays that sort of psychopath character. I would have loved for him to still be alive. Please bring him back. Billy, of course, is just a fake out. It's just the fact that they make you think it's him, especially with that scene when he drops the phone in the house. Then he's like, okay, it's no way it's him because he got a phone call from jail. Then she asks him, after that scene, she's like, oh, who did you call while you were in jail? And
exactly.
Then,
the look he gives her is just like what?
And then
the look he gives her is just insane.
He gets stabbed shortly afterwards. But I love the way that was shot. So it's also like you don't see him get stabbed. You just see him fall.
And then the reveal, bro.
And then the reveal. It was just too perfect. It was just too perfect for you to not say Billy wasn't the best killer out of all of them.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. And like that's why I have Stu as number 4, because if I put Billy and Stu up top, you're like, so like when I think of Billy as number 1, I think of Stu there up there, But it's great. They're all great killers besides Amber. But other than that, I think that's a pretty solid list that we have there. Let us know how you rank all the Ghostfaces, and
maybe we come back to this after.
We're gonna have to when the new killers revealed. Killers.
See where we rank number 10, 11, 12, and 13. I guess 11, 12, 10, 11, 12. But maybe after this, we'll have an even dozen kills.
Yep.
Shout out to that little Ghostface behind you. Look at
that man just chilling there. Who could it be? But yes, I know we went a little bit over today, guys. We appreciate you listening to us. Tommy, I don't have anything to add. If you do, let me know. Otherwise, I'm gonna sign us out.
Nope, I think we're all good on our end.
Everybody, thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Please follow us on Twitter at That's Horrific, on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube at Well That's Horrific. Because if you don't,
well, that's horrific.
Peace, everybody.
Peace.